The views expressed in this show do not necessarily reflect those of the Armenian Council for Truth in Journalism or any other TMI affiliate.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. It's going to be quite a different show today. I had some friends that got too drunk to join the show, so I'm going to get drunk on the show and show them that you could have still made the show. But I do have a special guest with me today, someone that knows me nearly as long as they do, so it should still be kind of entertaining. And we'll probably just talk about music and have a very casual day. No conspiracy talk unless it comes up, and no crazy talk unless it comes up. But let's just bring her right on and get started. How are you doing? Would you care to introduce yourself to the world?
What are we going to talk about if all those things are off the table?
Nothing. Those things are just off the table a little bit, just a little bit. Because they're always they're always just one sentence away from me. You've known me long enough to know that. So how's your day going? You seemingly are on a vacation of sorts.
I'm on a vacation from my vacation. You know my life kind of. So,
gotta like that. Well, so I kept you on before I do this part of the show, which I normally do beforehand, but because you actually have one of these things, a Flickwick, right? How do you feel about your Flickwick?
I do. What's that?
I said, and how do you feel
I love
about,
my Flickwick. Unfortunately, I don't know where it is right now. I've got a lighter. I know it's in my car, but I'm not going outside. But I love that.
And you're also on vacation.
I don't like inhaling the butane, and it's not like a fast burn too. So sometimes you can just kind of like sit it right there and not have to. When you're passing it, it's just like an easy thing. I don't know. I've loved it.
Yeah.
But
the guy who made it, he actually told me the most important part about what he does is because like if I light it, right? If I light it stays lit, and then I blow it out. And this is what happens with most hemp wicks that people just have rolls of. When you blow it out, see that right there, it stays lit. And people don't like that because they don't know where they can put it. And so the cool thing about his thing is you can go straight down and then straight back up and it's out. That's the snapping part. Totally. Is like, so that's like a really cool thing when it comes to hemp. It kind of saves it and everything. So I like that part. I didn't even know. I was enjoying it.
That's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, and I was enjoying it forever before even knowing that.
And then here's
I said I was enjoying the Flickwick and all its butaneless benefits before I even knew that little tidbit about it. So we'll just go to look at that. He even designed a box.
I like
you know that? So he even designed a box. So he made it to where all the perforations come off and then they reattach and it also becomes a display. The guy is a damn near kind of close to a genius, but I like the guy. He wants to design some other stuff. I think I put it in his mind where now he wants to design some other stuff. So I'm excited about that. But anyway,
a genius. It's been a pretty intuitive invention to have in my toolbox now.
It's a survival. It's survival.
I love it.
I'm gonna add this one to the stream, and we're just gonna play this softly in the background and see if you get any inspiration from this.
Foundation Step Up.
This is
sponsored by.
How is that on the volume?
I am already inspired. I should invest in gold and put it in my teeth.
Yeah. This is actually I was in Atlanta. Rob Wonder is the DJ who had this vision, and he approached me, and I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And that was a while ago. But the guy who painted this, his name is Dax, and he actually drew that. That's kind of his graffiti style. He's very known in Atlanta, and
all right, Dax, love it.
And he is probably one of the coolest dudes. Like he's all tatted up, looks mean as shit, but he's a softie, man. He's a good dude. And then Rob Wonder owned. What's that?
What are we watching here?
Yeah, this is just the this album. This is how he started. This is how he introed it.
And maybe the inexpressible content of life.
What's the album?
It's called Foundation Steppers, and it's kind of nice. It's got some reggae. It starts off pretty much all reggae, then it blends into some other stuff. But I'll let the record just play a little bit. So how are you digging Run the Jewels? What do you think about their latest album? Because you're usually a late bloomer when it comes to their albums. Like, you appreciate them, but
On the record. And then there was a sound.
Sorry, I was adjusting my camera. I am usually a late bloomer, but I listened to it on this vacation, and that album is fire.
isn't it?
This album is fire.
Is it kind of crazy that that their lyrics are so prescient? Like, it seems as if they're writing about it, but they wrote about a lot of those lyrics were written 9 months ago before it all started, or 9 months before it all started. And they're like really dead on. He even has a line where he says something about like, I can't breathe. How do you feel about that?
There's no way that was written 9 months ago.
Yeah, I know. LP says it. The other guy that was the producer, he says he had those lyrics written 9 months before January.
Okay.
Pretty crazy,
That's
right?
That's a little strange. It's a little prophetic.
It was. A lot of that album sounds prophetic.
This could be going into conspiracy talk though. Right away.
All right, if we're gonna do it, if we're gonna jump into it, what is your best conspiracy going on right now?
Best conspiracy.
What's your most favorite? What's your favorite? Because I would say probably vaccine.
This is just the most recent one that came up. I just read about it, already debunked, but something about COVID tests being purchased throughout like 2017, 2018, shipped to all these countries. But I think I saw an explanation for that on Reddit, but I don't know. Not everything with the establishment is a conspiracy, or is it?
Yeah, I'm gonna say maybe.
I don't know. That the stars are that's not a conspiracy, that's just a theory.
You mean
it is a theory, but I don't know if it's a conspiracy.
What what do you mean, the stars as in Hollywood stars, or stars as in the stars in the sky?
No. Stars in the sky are like holes to somewhere with a lot of light.
Oh, that's interesting.
We're not actually looking at something that is described to us or told to us to be a star.
Okay.
Gases and whatever materials. I don't know if I passed astronomy or whatever, but
no. This is a new one to me. This is a good one. This is let's explore this one a little bit.
Theory that it's not my theory. I'm trying to reiterate how the person described it, because I didn't look much further into it, but it was just more that the stars are not actually stars as we're told they are, but what we're looking up at is more of like a ceiling to something, and the stars are light shining through from I don't know where else. I didn't mean to get so animated there, but I
think no. Okay, so I'm not too, okay. So I'm with you. Okay, so if at the beginning sounds a lot like what the flat Earth people believe, with the dome over the head. So a ceiling makes sense. So when you think about a ceiling, okay, I get that. Now what? But then you're talking about
the dome or the cover or whatever. I don't even know how you describe it.
Mm-hmm.
That could also apply to a globe, Earth, right? Right?
It could.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Part of the. I don't know.
It could. I'm gonna say this about stars. Stars are an interesting phenomena. I think the fact that they've been so consistent in humans' lives for so long is a testament to their importance. And I think some of the things that I find the truest were still a little bit based loosely on the stars and astrology and whatnot, and that's or astronomy. And that's astrology and tarot and all of these things that I think provide a deep wisdom that you would only have to be a fool if you say it has no validity at all, to just completely discard it, and to know that it came from a conversation with the stars. I think it's something to take seriously myself. That's what I think about the stars. So I think whatever they are.
You follow astrology and tarot is part of the stars.
Yeah, so I think so you have astrology, and then tarot is like the stories that come from the different houses and stages that astrology creates. So I think there's some connection. It seems like I could be way off, because the same way you think about conspiracies, where you hear them and then you're like, oh yeah, let me tell you this, and then you towards the end you're like, oh yeah, I don't know exactly what the starlight at the ceiling is. That's kind of it's kind of the same way that I am with astrology. It's like, oh yeah, that shit sounds pretty good. But if I'm trying to do your chart, you know what I mean? But anyways, yeah. So what do you think about astrology?
That's funny, because I was talking to someone today for the first time, and birthdays, that comes up, I don't know. And I always ask people about if they know their life path number before I ever think what is their sign, because I don't know.
Right.
There's different.
Well, that's how numerology gripped me.
I don't know.
Okay, so that's how numerology gripped me, is where my curiosity for astrology had pretty much run dry. And then y'all two started talking about numerology. Right. I'm like, right, what does that mean? And then I started delving into it, and then the paths and stuff were shown to me, and to me it made a lot of sense in my path and how my life has gone. So numerology, and then you find out that Tesla has like this huge theory about everything in the world is basically a subpart of 3, 6, and 9. So I think numbers. Yeah, I think you can pretty much get everything he said from 3, 6, and 9. Like there's something magical about those 3 numbers, and he has a whole theory about it himself. I guess I could pull something up and we could watch it together. But yeah, that's kind of
one thing that I found super interesting that I came across just in my calculations, doing numbers and stuff. 9 specifically was that when you're adding up the individual numbers of whatever number you're trying to calculate, usually it's birthday, any 9 could just essentially be seen as non-existent. Like if you saw the 9 in there, you could take every 9 out and all the other numbers would add up still to the same number that, or the singular digit. I can't even talk math when I'm high like this, but right. It's as if the 9s don't exist. You will get to the same final result. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like just so I can look at numbers now, and if I see a 9 in there and I'm wanting to add up all the numbers, I'll just take the 9s out. I know that they end up being a sum of 0, basically, when you're doing the addition. It's the wildest thing to me. I don't know if that makes sense when I'm describing it to you, but
makes a little sense.
I don't know. You'd have to maybe pull up some number examples to get a visual on and look.
Yeah, you got something in mind?
But
All right.
I've seen a good Tesla 369. Let me see what's on there.
I got something.
My phone hates me, but that song, just so you know, once it was quiet because my phone restarted for whatever reason, I was just sitting here and I just this song, the remnants of this song just had me gave me bad memories of that long ago. That shit playing in the club. It's made me the last song of the night too. You just walk out and you just can't hear care anymore. You're just drunk. You're just like, fuck.
That is
I didn't like that.
definitely that was definitely one of those songs. I'd never seen the video though.
No, me either. I was thinking back. What's that song from? Like 2003, I think.
Yeah, I think unfortunately one of the members passed away, but I'm gonna bring my friend on. I'm gonna try not to play matchmaker, but Harrison,
Hi.
how are you doing?
Good. Chill. Just chilling out. Enjoying the holiday weekend. How are you?
I am doing the same. I was very disappointed that my friends were a little too drunk to come on, but I totally understand because it is a holiday weekend and they went to a truck show. So I gotta be understanding of that. But other than that, I'm having a good time. How are you?
Good. Just chilling out. Just ate just been eating all weekend. Just stuffing myself. Jerk chicken and burgers and stuff. A little bit of this, you know. Got to get in the right mind frame.
Sure.
This is acceptable here, right?
And have you partook in any psychedelics this weekend for any occasions?
Not since like last night.
Okay. So you're taking a break.
Yeah. You know, it's that threshold where you can only take so many, and you get diminishing returns.
Yeah. True.
So you gotta wait a few days.
Yeah, I always enjoyed mushrooms when I was outside, and then like acid if I was going to be inside. For some reason, I think I could handle acid better indoors than I could mushrooms.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I started my day off yesterday with a little bit of Molly in the morning, and then I hit some LSD in the afternoon. Then I finished my day off with some shrooms. It's the whole eternity, you know. It's great.
Of course. And what dosage are you doing the
micros, little
bitties?
Yeah, like you know the LSDs. Like I take like a quarter tab.
Now I got a question. In relationship to what doctors are attempting to do with the dosage, is that in line with what those people are doing, or is that something that you've come up on your own?
I don't know.
Goddamn right. It's your body. You're right.
Yeah. There's a really good article in Vice about LSD as a substitute for like codeine.
Okay.
I sent it to my grandparents, and I'm like this close to getting my grandma and my grandpa to try some LSD for their issues.
LSD? You're gonna go with LSD? Okay, so Harrison, up top here is a really close friend of mine. Her name is Callie. Callie, this is Harrison.
Callie.
This is Callie. Y'all are both great people. I know y'all individually, but y'all are definitely good vibes. So I just
what's that logo up in your corner, Callie?
That's me. That's actually the show.
That's his logo.
Yeah, it's you know what, this show is
like a really bad.
It's good. It's covering something else. It's not covering up her face. At least it's not doing that. And she is out in the middle of the boonies, kind of close on the East Coast. I think kind of close to where you are because you're in New York.
Yeah, right? I'm in Bushwick, Brooklyn.
And how is the lockdown there now? Because are you paying attention to any global stuff, like with the like Australia is like really taking a shit right now? But are you familiar with any of that?
With the COVID cases?
No, as far as just like the lockdowns, because I know New York supposedly had the strictest lockdown that we had in America, right? And it was there, like they had checkpoints and things of that nature, or was it not that really noticeable?
It was pretty surreal out here. I mean, like we had a couple days, I know, that were like, we had a curfew, a few days, but I think they lifted the curfew since then. But yeah, it's weird. It's like I Am Legend out here. I'm just waiting for the deer to pop up with the zombies, you know?
Yeah, so are the streets still pretty clear?
Yeah.
Wow. And where do you think all these people are getting income from? And where do you think the black market has gone to?
Good questions. Great questions. I can only speculate.
Yeah, I would love to I would like to hear your speculation.
I don't know. I mean, like,
Kelly, do you want to chime in? Where do you think?
What were you guys talking about before I jumped on? Sorry to
Music.
interrupt.
No, music. No, we were just having a good old time. We could continue to talk about just nonsense, but you're just such an astute human, and I don't get to talk to many. And so
Yeah, me neither.
I'd like to just pick your brain. But you're right.
Louise.
Like y'all two talk for a second, and I'm gonna hunt down some stuff. So why don't y'all just get to know each other for a second?
Will do.
And I'll try to find. Oh, I got it. Okay. I'm gonna play this. It's probably one of the worst jokes that I know, and I want to get y'all's take on this joke. So we'll have a reaction show to this. So y'all just talk amongst yourselves for a second while I load this up.
Will do. So how do you know Louis? Sorry. Let me finish the sentence.
So
how do you?
I'm so high. I was like waiting for you to go somewhere.
No. I'm just gonna go hunt this down on my. But I'm slow at this part. I need a full-on producer to do this part because.
I don't know where people are getting their money, but when the pandemic started, I was relieved because I'm a single parent at home already anyway. So I was like, good. Now no one can do
Everybody else is. Damn, that's fucked up.
A little vindicating. Yeah.
No, that actually got really hard, but
all right, this is it right here. Perfect.
New York. It's crazy down there.
New York, exactly.
How do you guys know each other?
We met through a mutual friend, Hio Park, a guy I play capoeira with. Yeah. I know him as Instructor Ninja. He's been kicking my ass for years, and then he just brought me on this show with Louis and Sean, and we were talking about the Federal Reserve for about a good hour.
you know he won my my heart right away. I've been talking about the banks and Federal Reserve and history, and you actually brought some other stuff to light that I really enjoyed it. So I can't wait to have another in-depth conversation with you, and hopefully it happens soon. But you have something else that you want to plug. So why don't you take the time to do that? And you know, I can definitely make a clip of this and do it throughout the week. So
cool.
What you guys say? Let me put you on the big screen here, and while I finish this last part off, I'll let you do your thing.
Cool. Whoa, hey, it's all me. Yeah, thank you. So I'm doing another demo, my latest demonstration at the New York City Federal Reserve for a Green New Deal. And it's not going to be a huge demonstration. It's not going to be big enough, unfortunately, but there's going to be a few people there for the 9-year anniversary of Occupy Wall Street. And this is all on September 17th, week and a half away, I believe. And just trying to raise awareness about the Federal Reserve, and more importantly about the solution to the Federal Reserve, the National Emergency Employment Defense Act. And I'm working on raising awareness for this legislation with a group called the Alliance for Just Money. This is a national group. We have members from other countries as well. And they were meeting online on Zoom for months before the COVID made Zoom cool. So these are like the policy experts I work with, and I focus more on the direct action, like actually trying to get people out in front of the Fed. And so we're doing another demonstration this 9-year anniversary of Occupy, and hopefully this will be a launch pad for an even bigger demonstration, hopefully on December 23rd on the anniversary of the Fed. I think it's the 107th anniversary. 7th, I can't count that well, especially now when I'm this side. But so this is obviously really important. I don't need to tell Lou, but for anyone who doesn't know, I mean, you don't really understand capitalism if you don't understand the Federal Reserve, what it is, how it creates money out of debt. And I mean, the only thing keeping things from getting better right now is the Fed. I mean, the stock market, most major companies, the entire oil industry, I understand, they're all broke. They're not making any money, and the only thing keeping them propped up is the Federal Reserve creating money out of nothing, backed up by our tax dollars. And this is what's keeping the too big to fail the too big to fail banks on Wall Street from failing, and from the creative destruction that we need to create our Green New Deal. So the way out of this is to nationalize the Fed, to outlaw fractional reserve lending, so these banks can't just create money out of loans indefinitely and give it to companies to make various weapons and bad investments with. And from now on, money is going to get spent into existence directly on vital infrastructure, on a green new infrastructure, and all the jobs that go along with that, on universal housing, universal education, universal basic guaranteed income, and debt relief, any kind of student, medical, credit card, housing debt gone. And this bill is just a template. There's more that could and should be written into the bill. Reparations for descendants of colonialism or slavery could be written in. Universal veterinary medicine, something I'd like to see written in. There's a lot more we could do. So I'm going to be out in front of the New York City Fed on September 17th, live streaming, talking about this, trying to raise awareness about this, and trying to get people to call from home their Congress reps while they're out there live streaming to get Congress to start to be aware of this bill. And I'm hoping if I get a few dozen calls from a few different people all across the country, maybe a few different Congress reps, and be like, yo, what the hell, did you hear about this thing? Just to get them talking. So, and we'll take lots of photos, lots of videos, and use this to promote more actions throughout the year leading
So
up
what
to
would be the best place to find out the most information right now that you know of, like that I can
RSVP on Facebook. That's
RSVP
the big thing.
on Facebook.
Yeah,
and,
there's an event.
And what's the event called again?
Rally at the NY Fed for a Green New Deal. You RSVP'd already, Lou. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, but I wanted to go ahead and type it up so I can put it up on the screen. So
yeah.
So it's called it's I'm sorry, say it again.
Rally at the NY Fed for a people's bailout. And it's September 17th at 5 p.m.
When it is, right?
What's that?
It's September 17th, which is the day after my birthday, which is why I know exactly the date that it is.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you don't live in New York. If you support this, please just RSVP going. You don't actually have to show up or even live here. Just by RSVPing is going, someone else will be inspired to show up.
Exactly. I do that all the time. So since I've been out here, all my Atlanta friends, as soon as it pops up on my screen, I'm a big fan of that. I agree with that big time. All right, totally. So now we're going to shift a little gears because I want to get y'all's reaction to what I think is a really good joke. It's a bad joke. It's a bad premise. It's a hard premise, but this guy takes it on, okay?
Let me get ready for the phase shift.
Yes, and I want y'all to I want y'all to give me y'all's honest opinion on this.
Like, ladies, let's discuss harassment for a second. You feel it a little bit? Like, let's just discuss it. Why can't I harass you? Sometimes. I can never harass you, never. And I'm not talking about ooga booga. Like, I'm talking just at the job. It's unfair that I can't harass you at the workplace. Like,
this was done a little while ago, but it's very controversial.
And I can't just a little something that has to do, like, you got to be careful just to say, hey, you look beautiful today. That's how messed up the game is. I think you should be able to comment on any part of the body that you see. If you
she doesn't get to the end of the joke.
She must have gotten offended.
Disrespect.
She might have. Her face did change.
I should be able to walk in and go, "Oh, Gina."
I should pause. What do you think I should do? Should I pause this and try to get her back on?
Yeah.
And
All right. It's not that important. I just was curious as.
whatever.
I could riff off this. Yeah, I got.
Yeah, I'm not saying I agree with what he's saying, but
I can psychoanalyze the joke.
Term for the titty meat. What's the actual? And it's not the cleavage. I mean, the cleavage is the space in the middle. I'm talking about the meat.
This guy's dead, by the way. He's a big-time New York comedian.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was known at Carolines and all that stuff.
Just,
Far out.
Oh. You know what I'm saying? Just so I can go through the rest of the day without pretending that I don't see. Which you understand what I'm saying? I mean, let's work out a deal. Don't get me fired.
Because guys are just creepy anyways, so let's.
Having women work with men, right? It's like having a grizzly bear work with salmon. Dipped in honey. Like,
So now, this is the point that he brings up that I would like to psychoanalyze first. So what he's saying is that guys and girls shouldn't even work together. What do you think about that?
Depends on the job. Depends on. I mean, a guy and a girl that are in a relationship together should never work together.
That's funny. So even if it is a positive sexual relationship, you still shouldn't work together because there's a lot at risk.
Don't ruin your sex life with work, man.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
No.
But no, so you know, and I don't think he's talking about the small companies, but at the same time, here in Denver, I want to put this on blast. There's a consignment store and a secondhand store by the name of Buffalo Exchange, and it's part of a corporation, but it had 3 stores that were owned by a franchise owner that had them in 3 prime places in Colorado, and they were a big deal, and they were really big part of the LGBT community, and you know, a lot of the people there that were working there were artists, and they were able to be artists because of, you know, they had this little gig that fit perfectly in their lifestyle.
Cool.
And everybody there was very supportive. But it comes out that the owner had been molesting a few of the people there, or not the owner, but the manager that they had hired to run these 3 places. They were, you know, a lot of them had stories, and so a few of the people that had previously worked there created a lawsuit against the guy, and it caused the reaction of the franchise owners, who really had said they didn't care, and they still own the buildings, they can do whatever, but they basically fired all 36 of the active people that were part of this company there, and they made them jobless, and sometimes even in you know, during this COVID situation, very bad over the negative actions upon them. So I think like the reaction of shutting it down is even worse than, you know, trying to. I don't know, that's a tough one. But what do you like? It still happens. Sexuality in the workplace it's seemingly still there, and a lot of people use the authority the same way they see their governments and their bank figures use their authority, you know, to the maximum, and to get whatever they want.
Yeah, I appreciate that you point out the connection right off the bat between interpersonal harassment and abuse of authority, and, you know, this bigger kind of corporate banking abuse of authority. I mean, the first thing I would say is that a lot of the interpersonal, having studied the Fed and understood this stuff, and I mean, having lived through a lot of harassment, don't even get me started. I definitely see how all the toxic behavior in our society trickles down directly from a toxic monetary supply. I mean, harassment, sexual harassment, rape, even, it's not about sex, it's about power.
It's about power.
Just like money is about power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, harassment is what people do when they don't have money to spend in order to feel powerful. You know, when you're fucking broke, when you're in debt, when you're feeling like shit, you want to make someone else feel like shit in order to make yourself feel better. And this goes back to the second essay in Nietzsche's Genealogy of Morals, when he talks about like what's the root of guilt, of this bad consciousness. And he talks about how, you know, in German the word for guilt, you know, Geld, comes from the word debt. Geld and guilt, you know, the root word of guilt comes from the word for debt in German.
That's interesting.
And, yeah.
Interesting.
So I mean, like the Fed is like it's the matrix. You know, it's not some 3D abstract matrix. It's a literal net, a literal matrix that we're all caught up in.
Exactly.
And this is the thing. It's, you know, the problem today isn't that people are fucked up. The problem isn't that people have bad values. No, the problem is structural. The problem is that people are incentivized to behave and treat people horribly.
Well, that's why I feel that people my age specifically are going to be the biggest target to whatever happens depopulation wise, if that is a thing. Because like, and I'm just throwing that around, you know, haphazardly. I don't really think that's going to happen. But, you know, if it is, like, we would be the targets because we remember the old way of doing it. And we grew up with this new way of doing it. Because we remember in the 80s, but before the superstars that were on TV, they didn't have name brand shit. They were cool because they would tear their clothes and make it cool, you know, like Punky Brewster or whatever. But those people were cool because, you know, it was like they were borrowing, you know, they were just, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, you know. It wasn't because somebody designed their clothes, you know.
It's creativity.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. And so then in the 80s, it just changed. It became like, oh, look at what I can purchase. Look at what I can buy, and greed. All the movies that came out were about Wall Street. All the movies were about greed. All the movies were about, you know, chasing these just whatever desire you fucking wanted. And then
the acceleration of capitalism and desire. Yeah, I see that too. I mean, I think, you know, just looking at kind of cinema, I mean, I think it used to be cool to be working class, like in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Like it was chic, you know, it was all right. And before that, I mean, it was cool to be a worker. But I think like around the 80s with Wall Street, you know, greed is good. And all of a sudden, like being working class is being second or third class. And like, I mean, if you're working class in New York, you're nothing. You're nobody.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I don't know what it's.
And that's unfortunate that we supposedly have these people in Congress that are supposedly working people as well and have that connection. We're supposed to be that connection. And then our biggest person is Biden, who still pretends to be, you know, a working class person when he's obviously not. I mean, not only nepotism, not only obvious corruption, not only, you know, just taking full advantage of his situation. I don't know, I don't know what working class people need. You know, like they've killed all your real leaders. It's not a coincidence anymore. You know, it's like we have enough where we can be like, oh, they're killing these people because of what they're saying, and they don't even know. These people don't even know what they're saying. They just know that unity is the answer. That's usually the biggest threat. Is someone who's popular that says, hey, we can get through this as black and white. You know, or as these multiple factions here, or as these other multiple factions here, you know, where, but I think we can. I think the idea of fighting over something is generated by the same people that are taking advantage of this debt monetary system that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think the electoral politics, you know, even the materialism itself. You know, these are distractions. These are what keep people from focusing on the matrix, on the strings that are holding us and manipulating us and forcing us to fight all each other. Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said there. I mean, yeah. I'm coming down off a major psychedelic binge, so a little bit slower than usual. But I think
back to this terrible joke that ran my friend off.
Oh yeah, I mean,
let's see the next point that he makes after.
Sure.
He just says that it's already a bad idea to get guys and girls to work when it's frivolous. You know, like when it's people that are on the same mind frame. It doesn't matter the gender. So I'm not talking about independent corporations, but in these super large corporations where, you know, there's floors of people that they don't really mingle, but they just see a woman and they're like, oh, I need to talk to Mary from, you know, what so-and-so department or whatever, just because, you know, he thought that she looked nice in a red dress one day or something like that. You know, that's how that corporate structure is. And that's how it was for the 1 year that I did it out of the 43 years that I've been on earth, you know, and I was like, fuck this place. This is not a healthy environment in any capacity, you know.
I've been through that. You know, yeah. I mean, obviously my long-term solution to harassment is monetary solution. But even with that, you know, one thing that has really helped me figure out how to communicate interest in women without coming off as harassing them is really just been like old school 2000 mystery method game.
Yeah,
straight up.
So for 43 years, mine is to just not. Like usually I'll either say hello, and then if I get a positive response, take it from there, or I just will not talk to people because
I'm a big fan of pickup. I used to teach some pickup. I got pretty good at it, but like
the thing I just don't like manipulating people, and like the thing is like
it's not manipulative.
I know, well,
depending on which school you go with, but I mean the stuff that I learned is really ethical, and it's
honestly manipulative. Like, let's be honest, like everything's manipulative. Like you're like a pickup game is you being, you know, mentally smarter to already be thinking in 3D when you're conversating.
I disagree with that. I think as soon as you start playing games like that with a woman, they're usually onto it and they bounce.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's all about, it's not about being manipulative as much as about not being awkward. It's about being tactful. It's about being smooth.
Okay.
It's just about not being, not creating embarrassment, just keeping it chill, not being weird, not, you know.
How much of that plays on confidence? Because I feel that
it builds your confidence. It builds your confidence.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying is I feel that you do have to build people's confidence, because we live in a world that by the time you're 18, you pretty much have no confidence. Even
it teaches you social norms, which is something that people don't think about or focus on. It teaches you norms of dating and norms of sex.
It just arms you with information, which is always positive.
Okay. Yeah, and it helps you understand the difference between.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I apologize if I misrepresented it earlier.
No. That, because I mean it's a controversial thing, and don't get me wrong, there are scumbags in the fucking game who use it horribly
for them.
Yeah, I mean it happens. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not trying to.
No, I get it. All right, so to go back to this joke that I'm gonna keep rolling.
Yeah.
So, you know, he talks about, you know, guys and girls should work together, and then he makes the analogy of it's like, and then he's really smart, because then he takes it into a primal sense. So it's like, normally these are things like, and he's talking about in a primal sense, normally these are things that this is how a procreation would work, is that the man would, you know, do this in that way, which is very Neanderthal for him to think of in my eyes. But it sets up the joke to where it has a funny climax at the end. So you have
unintended climax.
And the grizzly bears is like, hey, you can't even growl like, what's up, fish? Oh my God, human resources. The grizzly bears. So
then he goes into the world of absurdity.
Like, I can't even go, hey, good morning, fish, good morning. Oh, I can't touch it. Like, oh, look at that. Oh, let me just get a little bit of that fish, a little bit. Look at that honey. Oh my God. Fish and honey, man, that's my favorite. Usually I kill fish and eat them and stuff, but I just wanted to just rub a little bit of that. God damn.
And so
that's oppressive. Like, you shouldn't even. And there's cameras everywhere. You can't do.
I gotta say also, this is an hour and a half special that he does. This is his last one that he does right before he dies. I think he works on another one and then he dies. But he's already at the place in this set where he can have this absurd joke in the middle of it, because the rest of it was not that absurd. The rest of it was very honest and very, very poignant. but he had already earned the relationship with the crowd. So it's not like he just started off with this joke and is just trying to be crude. Like he is trying to make a bigger overall point, but his language and his absurdity and his character that he is on stage creates this persona that's easy to just dismiss. But to dismiss this man would be at your own peril, because he actually has a lot of smart things to say in just an awkward way.
He's over exaggerating in order to.
What's that?
He's over exaggerating certain. He's over accentuating certain.
Yeah, he's
norms of an interaction in order to highlight a certain point.
Right. And the thing that he's really talking about, and this is early on in the cancel culture, but he called it before it became what it is now. But he's kind of also alluding to that, and a lot of his other jokes are alluding to the whole cancel culture where, people are just weird. Like, he points out that it's not just one other person that has sexual proclivities or any problems with that, and so his suggestion here at the end is worth talking about, even in a fun way. So let's just let him continue.
Behind her back, like, why would it be disrespectful? I said, what's your name? Terrell. If I go, hey Terrell, we work together, and I go, Terrell, hey, do me a favor, let me know when you're getting up to go to the bathroom so I can sniff your chair. That's disrespectful for the sexual, but that keeps me from being like, I think this is, for lack of a better word, harassment day, but not forever. But I mean the day where I get to find out, like, because, and this is why it should be harassment day. Because women get to be inappropriate sexually all the time. You get to be inappropriate. And when I say inappropriate, I mean say hello to me too close. Hi. Or some weird massage because you think we're friends and you, good morning, a little kiss, and he's just like, oh boy. And you think in your head, man, I wonder if I don't know. But harassment day allows you to be able to ask all day before Thanksgiving. And it's a beautiful thing. Flowers and everything. You buy flowers, just real cool. You walk up, you're respectful, you say, hey, how are you? Good afternoon to her. And you just like say, listen, I was wondering all you if you would suck my dick in the broom closet.
I get where he's going.
Yeah.
And you just be
just
like,
one day.
Oh, thank you, I'm not. And you be like, thank you, keep the flowers. I just thought.
All year.
I thought you was a hoe all year. I was confused. I thought you was a hoe, but you're not.
See? Okay. And that's kind of the...
All right. So you want my analysis here?
Yeah, I want your honest analysis of that joke, because I think it's a good joke.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what he's proposing, harassment day, it's like, that exists. I mean, like, this guy doesn't need harassment day. He just needs to find a good BDSM dungeon. You can do that every day, every night. You know what I'm saying? Like,
into that, and he does talk about, like, his girlfriend was, kind of wild, and he was always on this.
He's obviously a freak.
Yeah, he was on this New York show called the Opie and Anthony Show a lot. So I listened to him pontificate quite a while when I was first discovering long form conversation.
Comedy is kind of a verbal form of BDSM too, in some kind of way, if you ask me.
That is, I'm gonna borrow that and maybe try to build on that, because that's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's BDSM without comedy, and what's comedy without, power dynamics?
Take yourself seriously. Wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
So I mean, like obviously, like I mean, yeah, like people need to play with that shit. People need to get that repression out. People need to.
Don't you think? Don't you think that's more healthy as a culture? If
Well, but you need places for it. You need rules. Right? You need understanding. I mean, and, you know, like I mean, before I was writing about the Fed, I was writing about BDSM. I was going to do my dissertation on that.
Oh, that's interesting.
And the differences between BDSM, like in the dungeon, and like sadomasochistic behaviors in everyday life. Not even like violent shit, just like interpersonal, verbal abuse, harassment type stuff.
Right.
What's the difference between harassment and the difference between BDSM? Obviously, the main difference is consent. Mm-hmm. You know, people are playing with this. People get it. BDSM is cool. I mean, like one of the things about BDSM that helps me like get this shit out. I haven't done it in years, but it's like it's just so much work. Mm-hmm. You know, like I mean, sex sucks. It's a pain in the ass. Like it's boring. It's never as good as you hope it's going to be. The best thing about sex, in my opinion, mm-hmm. is just doing it so that you don't want to do it anymore, so you can get on with your life and do something important. Mm-hmm. You know, Nietzsche wrote like, you know, like only a cretin thinks that like sex is like the best thing in the world. Right. You know, and anytime you want to have a serious conversation about sex in society, you got to read Foucault. 3 of these books, History of Sexuality.
I need to read that because I have I think I you know, it's interesting because you're the first. That's the first time I've heard anybody say what you just said. So I'm also taking that in, and I'm trying to see how I've lived my life. And in the few times that, you know, it's not that it's either way. You don't want to be thinking about sex the whole time. So if you're in a good, healthy relationship, you're not thinking about sex all the time because you're thinking about work. And you know, at some point when y'all look at each other, you're going to be able to do it, and it's going to be wanted. You know, it's going to be a vibration type deal. So that works when you're in tune with someone. You know, but at the same time, you know, there is masturbation. So if you are single, you know, you can have that look in the mirror with yourself and get that accomplished at the same time too. So I just think that it's we don't discuss it properly as humans anymore.
We don't. We never did.
And we don't know what it means to be in a relationship in such a large way because like we're used to being in tribes and we're used to being in places where, you know, either, you know, growing up, you know, it just happens in a more intimate way and you're not scared to confidence. Everybody's in the same boat, you know, type deal.
The main hypothesis of this book,
does it talk about gender roles at all?
It gets into everything. Yeah. I mean, the construction of that, but the big point that it starts with, there's the whole Marxist hypothesis, right? That capitalism oppresses our sexuality. Mm-hmm. You know, we're not supposed to be having sex, but Foucault flips that and he says that under capitalism, sex becomes an obligation almost. It's like you're supposed to have sex. You're supposed to find a partner and procreate. Right. He talks about how, you know, kings wanted more people for their armies and their factories and stuff. He talks about biopower. So with this, you know, certain forms of sexuality become discredited. Things like homosexuality, things like BDSM, masturbation, especially like anything that doesn't result in children becomes seen as pathological. And historically, this was never the case. You know, like the church never really cared what you did if you weren't like part of the church. If you took that sacrament of marriage, yeah, like you had a lot of responsibility on you. But if you weren't someone important, you didn't do any of that. The church didn't waste their time with you. Yeah, go ahead, jack off, do what you're going to do. They don't waste their time persecuting you.
Right.
Science is what really started putting people in asylums for masturbating and creating straight jackets for masturbating.
Saying that they had the answers. The false prophet. I really do compare. If I would write something today, it would be my comparison to what's going on in science. It's the same thing that happened with religion, where it was taken over by this Roman Catholic kingdom, you know, and turned into this torture ability having with conquering, you know, they can write everything off with the rules of God and all this other shit. And I feel that, you know, it's that same mentality.
You should check out, you don't have to digest all of Foucault, but give him like a Wikipedia read.
I definitely will. So, okay.
It's run up your alley with everything you're
right. So I have a question that came up while you were talking earlier. Do you think it's healthy for us as a society to seek, and I guess before I ask you the rest of that question, knowing that insects have sometimes very defined female and male roles in the equation of a procreation and carrying on the species, right? And just in that sense, where nature provides different roles for the different ones, and when things happen, so you can see it in nature. Now, in us, do you think it's healthy for us to seek gender equality in every aspect, or do you think a male and female relationship should have some sort of, I can do things this more efficiently and you can do, and it doesn't have to necessarily be like what somebody else may think or those roles should be, but don't you think in a healthy relationship you should have some sort of way to cover things that are deficiencies in your partner? Or
we can't talk about social roles between genders until we get the money question straight. You want to create equality between the sexes. The first thing is you need to create equality, like money. You need to make sure that women are making as much as men, and that starts with the fact. The bigger point that I wanted to make too, like kind of more the intellectual, like, so the history of sexuality and stuff like that, like,
I gotta
what
treat you.
Our gender role, I mean, patriarchy we're talking about right now, right?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, obviously, patriarchy is
Hidden
bad
patriarchy.
for men too, in my opinion. And I mean, the patriarchy is a creation of the banks. Going back to Zarlenga, before money was gold, it was seeds or it was cattle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when the ancient Greek temple priests started using, I'm not sure what happened to my camera here. But when they started using gold as money, then they when the priests started using gold as money, the first thing that they seemed to use gold for was to pay temple prostitutes.
Oh.
And I mean, what do we have right now? Like, why do these bankers on Wall Street need such big bonuses? What do they spend it on? They spend it on drugs. They spend it on hookers.
To take the oath of induction.
Like sex. This frivolous, this like freaking eyes wide shut,
right?
This excessive appetite, this insatiable appetite for sex.
Right.
Seems to be driving the economy. Like, Adam Smith talked about the invisible hand.
Yeah, it's
I call it the invisible phallus that drives our economy. Like, you can't talk about inflation without sex. And like, you want to end this shit, you got to start with money. Like, once people have enough money, once things are normal, once things are balanced again, hopefully people should start thinking about stuff other than sex. When you got money to spend, it's like, okay, I don't need to just go. It's like, hopefully we can get free of this compulsion to constantly have sex. Like, people feel like they're losers if they're not having sex.
What about people that have to make decisions, whether on purpose, because they feel like they want the prettiest person, not necessarily the person that fits them the best, or on accident where they oh, that kind of looks cool, or on accident where they have a kid, and they want to do the right thing by whatever religion they want to do. They want to try to be in a relationship all of a sudden,
Yeah, so, or when one person knows they're about to get dumped, so they have a kid with that partner, so that partner has.
I just heard that story happened. I just heard that story did happen with a friend of mine's coworker.
That's why I'm here. That's how I got here. Hey.
Crazy. Okay, so I want you to watch this. I pulled this little clip off of a movie I watched off Netflix. I was like, they just let them talk about this shit and right on the screen, and nobody really cares. Nobody understands. So I want you to just check this out.
Let's check it.
To take the oath of induction.
Never should have taken away this guy's title. He wouldn't go to Vietnam. I wouldn't go if I were drafted. Why stick our nose in Vietnam? English been doing that to the Irish for 2,000 years. And by the way, how are we going to pay for it, huh? Deficit spending, my ass. Next thing you know, we'll be going off the gold standard. The country's going to hell.
Those kids smoking pot.
If I were president, I'd legalize this stuff and tax the sales of it, like booze and cigarettes. In 2 years' time, we'd be richer than King Croesus.
Danny, the game. It's the Packers.
Go ahead.
I think the juxtaposition perfect.
Other than that,
grade A sirloin tuck.
no vegetables, no fruit, no nuts. Stuff's got too much cholesterol.
What's cholesterol?
All right.
That was funny. What is that?
So that is from a really good movie. And that movie is called Kill the Irishman. And that's the story of Danny O'Patrick Green, who came up in the world of organized crime in Cleveland. And when he died, he was kind of like a linchpin to the whole thing. And when he died, a lot of people started ratting, and a lot of people started making deals with the government, and the whole thing in Cleveland failed, and the whole longshoremen's union failed. So yeah, so it had some basis in history. It was just a really well done movie, and I caught that scene in there, and I was like, I watched it really early. Like sometimes if I get up but I don't feel like getting up, what I'll do is I'll just put something on but not really pay attention. That's when I'll watch. So I'll have it like subliminally working against me. So that's how I like to get my media. And I just remember hearing that. I was like, did I dream that or did I hear that? So I had to go back and hunt it. And when I found it again, I was like, this is great.
That was some shit right there.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's the question.
Spending my ass will be up in gold standards.
Yeah, exactly. Little did he know.
Legalize weed. And it's just like, that's all so logical.
Yeah.
And what the complete opposite of what happened.
But how great was it that what broke up the conversation was but just the Packers. Come on, I don't want to hear this.
And Wisconsin reference. I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a cheesehead.
Yeah. But you know how it is. It's like, dude, I don't want to hear that shit about whatever you're talking about. Like it's like in a I don't know, in 3 sentences, he literally hit all the major points. And still they were like, yeah, I don't want to hear any of that. I'd rather talk about whatever the Packers are doing. And that is literally the point.
And that's why Trump is president.
Yeah, exactly. And people want to know and try to blame Trump for the whole thing. I'm like, no.
No, it's your fault because all you want to do is drink beer and watch the fucking Packers, and you don't think.
Exactly. Now you're
bitching. You think voting's enough? Like, no, this is not how the founding fathers set this shit up. Like,
yeah. You got to be willing. Like, you got to not only vote, but you got to be willing to go and fucking confront your congressman, your representative. Those are the people that need to know that you're right there to do some damage to them if they don't got your back, because that's the only thing that you have against whatever the corporation's doing in the back office, where they get to sit there and be like, hey, look at this lunch that you're at.
The main thing I'm doing, the main reason I'm going out in front of the Fed is in order to inspire more people to call their Congress rep. Like, calling your Congress rep is even more important than voting. And that's something my political science professor.
Exactly. And even showing up peacefully, and even showing up where, like, even you form a line, even
bigger too, going to their offices.
Yeah, go to the office where you form a line. It's not a mob. You form a line, and you each either pass a note and want to say something, a few words, boom, you do it, you go away. Then the next person drops their note and says, da-da-da-da, boom, they leave. The next person drops it, and you do it orderly, just where they goddamn. And it's just
it works. And it works. I mean, this is exactly why we have legal cannabis in several states.
We don't need to be talking about defunding the police. They do too much in our communities. We need to accentuate the good that they can do and give them training to do the psychological stuff that we've thrown on them, because we've taken away a lot of the social services, and now they're dealing with domestic violence where somebody else should go there and do domestic violence. This is a psychological thing. These people at one point were in love. You got to take that into account. They probably have kids together. So the police does not need to be involved if this is a loving community of people.
Yeah, the community doesn't need more police. They need money. It's not about defunding the police. It's about funding the people.
Exactly. So I think the
police don't need more fucking weapons. They don't need more tanks. They don't need more assault rifles. They need more training. They need martial arts training.
Right. So, okay. So then, instead of me going off on a little tangent here, I'll instead present it in a question. What similarities, as someone who's smart, what similarities do you see in history in like a Bolshevik revolution with the young being revolutionized in this manner, or the brown shirts in Germany? What do you see that's so frightening in what's going on in America, where these people are just exhausting this energy in the wrong way, that's obviously in the wrong way? I have not heard one person mention Federal Reserve. I have not mentioned one person talk about the military-industrial complex, the media complex, any of these things. Nobody's talking about anything. It's all about white and black. Since when? When the fuck is that the deal? Come on, we're done with that shit. That's bullshit. That is contrived. Like, yeah, there's pockets, but come on. That's fucking ridiculous if you think that represents what the fuck we've done, especially in Atlanta, Georgia, which is part of America the last time I checked. But that's white and black people working together that I can point to. You know, and I just don't understand where the narrative is getting written where it's so bad. You know, yeah, if you're on TV, it's just like the virus. It's like they're using all out psychological warfare against us. And I think it's different from what it was before.
I think that clip that you showed where the guy's talking about the Fed and stuff, I mean, that's how I feel when I'm at Occupy Wall Street talking about the Fed. I'm talking about the Fed at Occupy, and it's like, we don't want to talk about it.
Right.
It's racism. I mean, yeah, like it's really the thing is that, you know, the way the media talks about politics, they talk about it in order to trigger emotional reaction.
Exactly.
It's that same charge you get off harassment, just to tie it all together. I mean, you're looking for an emotional spike.
That's all they're doing.
It's people looking to fill their emotional addiction rather than to get rational and get money. I mean,
and the rules and the doctors that we had in place in the 60s and 70s and 80s that were undone by both the Republicans and the Democrats have led to the ability for 24/7 conglomerates of media control and all this other stuff. Like, this isn't something that just happened overnight and this is what's up. Like, people aren't paying attention that this has been such a slow thing. It's almost been like a response to what they tried to do in the 20s and 30s with the fascist, oh, look, that's a good idea movement, but people revolted against that shit. And so they were like, okay, let's go tuck our tail. Okay, we found a place in China. Let's go hide over in China, you know, with our crazy ideas of eugenicism. You know,
I mean, the banks, they don't take you free. Well, the banks, they don't.
Go ahead.
The banks, they don't take everything from you all at once. They take it little by little.
Well, so you don't
colonists, they didn't take this country from, you know, the indigenous people, you know, all at once. They just took a little and a little bit more. They just take such a small amount that you don't mind at once, but then the next thing you know, you've got nothing left. And that's why it's important to draw those boundaries and to say no. That's why it's important to stand up to little things like harassment, so you don't put up with bigger shit from like the Fed and the banks and the police and shit.
Yeah. So where do you think it starts? Do you think it starts personally, or are you saying it? Are you going to go on with the idea that it's created? It's
like
created.
You got to deal with your environment. I'm a groundskeeper in Central Park. I get harassed by patrons at work.
I saw your video. That was an interesting video. If you want to talk about it.
Whoa! Oh, which one?
Well, you were trying to do your job, and you were getting yelled by people there, and they were recording you. You were recording them.
Oh, it's just another fucking thing. I mean, it was, you know, actually, it's worth talking about just because it was an example of. I mean, it was these French guys, and they were calling me like a girl and a woman because I have long hair.
Yeah,
one of the guys, but it was really the striking thing about it was how sexist it was.
Yeah, you pointed out
usually
easily.
Well, usually we think of sexist harassment and stuff happening between male and women, but I mean the weird thing about this, and the thing that it got me thinking about, is just how much male on male sexual harassment that men deal with. You know, like
you never had it defined in any kind of way. You know, I think that's the problem and the beauty of it's like there's two things. You know, it's like it's talking about it helps, but talking about it also gets to the point where we get to label it and then dismiss it or put it in a box. You know, and it's like there's a fine line between the two, and I think sometimes we lose the luster of what we're talking about. I think what we need to realize is that we're used to living in a place where we can trust about 200 people. You know, like we're used to living in a tribe. And right now we're dealing with living alone amongst millions. Like the psychological difference in what your brain is experiencing, we don't know. We've not even talked about, you know, and I just think like all of these problems of sexuality come from the fact that we're being socially engineered and just observing what happens. Oh, look, they become more violent. Oh, look, this happens if you put them all together. Like they're just fucking around, you know, like they know that collapse comes. Like they've done these experiments with mice. You know, there was this grand experiment where they made utopia for 3,000 mice, and it never even got to that point.
Yeah, you're all over the place here, but I think
that's how I am. That's
I think one thing that popped up though. I mean, it's obviously I think I don't think we're talking about certain things enough. I mean, like male on male sexual harassment is something I don't think even Me Too has brought up yet. I mean, like there's a long way to go, but I think one other place that this comes from directly, I mean, it's the Fed, but one of the things that the Fed pays for is the United States military. I mean, I know my family, I've got veterans and stuff, but a lot of this abusive, derogatory, demeaning behavior, a lot of it, I mean, it's like you see vets coming home from these war situations all traumatized from boot camp even, and you see them behaving and they're running their families almost like little army units.
Right.
And I think a lot of toxicity, I mean, comes from this model of human behavior that we get from the United States military, which bleeds over into corporate America, this hierarchical structure where it's okay to abuse and to talk down to people and stuff like that. And that's not how warriors are supposed to act traditionally. Warriors are supposed to act with respect. Like you don't command people around and stuff like that. Like there's honor, there's dignity. So I mean, again, I think martial arts, I think game, I think these are the short-term solutions that people need to study more of in order to protect themselves from being harassed and to make sure that they're not harassing anybody else in the short run while we fight in the long run for monetary justice, which will clean up this toxic. When we have a clean monetary system, behavior will become cleaner and much more easy to clean up.
Yeah, I think the transparency starts there amongst humans, and I think the deception that they need in order to carry out their financial conquest, I think that bleeds into how we are as humans. If that's the point that you're trying to make, I completely agree with that.
I think, I mean, look, what? Yeah, I mean, like these conversations about so many of these conversations that people have, black versus white, male versus female. It's all chicken and egg type questions. Like it's
no answer.
Circular.
Right.
There's no conclusion. And that's why people like those conversations, because you don't have to study for those kinds of conversations. You just get to share your opinion as if it's worth something.
Exactly.
And people want to avoid, but this is the thing. I mean, those conversations are just so exhausting when compared to another conversation that actually has a rational end. I want to have a conversation that ends in everyone getting their money.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't like, I mean, the scary thing about the state of the world that we're in right now is I can tell tons of people about this bill. Like, hey, we've got this way out. I've got this bill for you. Red pill or blue pill. They want the blue pill. That'll never happen. They don't want it.
Well, look how
people don't want it. Like the iceberg, it's like a bunch of buffalo running off a fucking cliff. And it's just like no one wants to veer off into a different path.
So, the thing is like I know that you probably don't get far off into the conspiracy stuff, but just know that from the conspiracy, I do feel like there's some sort of lineage that's being handed down for centuries and millennia, and the thing is like I wonder if they use that ability, that longevity to and in the middle of this, I definitely lost my train of thought. But
you should read The Lost Science of Money, because yes, like there's, it's not Bilderberg level, but I mean, there was the establishment of the Federal Reserve was a fucking conspiracy. There is no doubt about it. Jekyll Island, that is undisputed historical facts. The establishment of the Bank of England was a conspiracy. There's no doubt about it. Exactly. I mean, and yes, like they have a historical knowledge of how to do this that we don't have.
Right.
And I mean, this book, The Lost Science of Money, it breaks down the conspiracy.
It's an expensive book.
It's what?
I said it's an expensive book. I looked into purchasing it when
you can read it online for free. They have PDF online.
Yeah, I wanted to add to a collection, but
it's well worth it. It's worth it. It's worth every penny.
I still have it in a browser somewhere.
Is what?
I said I still have it up in a browser somewhere where I could refresh and maybe buy it.
And the thing is about it, like you don't want to read it all the way through. You read like the first chapters, then you can do like a choose your own adventure type book with it. Like you go to your favorite parts of history, and like you don't got to go straight through it. But I mean, if you like the Da Vinci Code or Angels and Demons and shit like that, you'll love this.
Mm-hmm.
But this is all real.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that, and maybe we can do some video art together about it. Like if you have some parts of it that you've already, gone into it. I'm big in the on the other end of it, so maybe we can put something together that makes it easier and palatable.
We have a bunch of slides. We have PowerPoint presentations for every chapter.
That's beautiful.
A lot of old.
Let's look through that.
Yeah, no, that would be huge. That would help the movement big time.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to work on that. And then I guess and you brought up some really, really, really good points. I've always enjoyed talking nonsense with you because this is all nonsense because like people aren't really paying attention. Like it's
you kept me on this conversation way longer than I thought it'd be. I thought it'd just be in and out.
Yeah, me too.
Good hour. I gotta start wrapping up here at some point.
Yeah, no doubt. We'll like I said, I would like to do this maybe next Sunday. About September 11th, but not in the normal conspiracy sense.
September 11th, Friday.
That is a Friday, so we could either do that then, or we could do it next Sunday and just
late Friday night would probably be better than Sunday. Later, around 10:30, 11.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll jump on around then because then I can plug my thing for the.
It would have to be 11. Yeah, it would have to be 11, but that'd be awesome.
Cool. That should give me enough time. I gotta go pick up a lot of weed that night, so.
He's just kidding, everybody. This guy's a good jokester. And I don't drugs. I also like psychedelics, and I have DMT accessible. What do you think of DMT?
I really hope it helps me with all my suicidal tendencies.
Have you not tried it?
Looking forward to it though.
I think if you need something that jars you out of that, you may need to go down to, or if there's a shaman close to you. I think I've heard that now there's some in America, but a shaman does more of the ayahuasca thing because then you get into that state for long enough to be dealt a lesson.
Yeah, that's what I need. Ayahuasca.
Yeah. I think
ayahuasca and DMT are different.
They are similar in the sense that, okay, so what ayahuasca does is, okay, so DMT is a molecule that builds up in our body and we know how to break it down really fast. And so when it's introduced to our body breaks it down really fucking fast. So you don't get it, so you get it, but it goes away within 4 minutes, and then within 20 minutes, it's like you didn't even have it. That's how fast it breaks it down. It's one of the things that we break down the absolute fastest because it's usually used only when you're dying. The thing with ayahuasca is they found in a root the DMT, so they can break it down and get the DMT out of it. But then they found this other thing that is an inhibitor to the molecule that breaks down the DMT. So they make DMT with an inhibitor to the thing that breaks it down in our body. And so what it does, it allows the DMT to sit with us for longer period of time than what our body allows us to do. It's almost like the way
CBD breaks down anandamide inhibitors.
Right. Yeah.
Natural anandamide. So yeah. Okay.
Way they have a harmonious mix where they kind of have this effect on each other. Yes. But so that's what the ayahuasca does. That's different from the DMT. You're still getting DMT as the kicker to it all. You just also have an inhibitor that's blocking your body from shutting that shit down. And so you're experiencing it almost, it's almost like you're cheating the system. So when you have it done, but the thing is, like, you can't just do it. Like if you and I just went out and did it, like we would probably lose our shit, by the time and probably hurt ourselves. So what you need is a spirit guide, a shaman. Your first time, because it's almost like when you go parachute jumping, you don't just go by yourself. You don't get to, it's not your choice, You have to go a couple times with someone who knows the way, so they can get you back. And that's how deep it is. And so when you go, it resets your whole idea of what you want to be, not. And if you're doing it right, it doesn't reset all of who you are. It just eliminates the bullshit part, where you can start focusing on some other shit that's real.
That's something to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure.
You live in Atlanta?
I was raised in Atlanta.
You're raised in Atlanta?
Yeah,
You're in Colorado now?
Now I chose to move to Colorado. So now I chose to live in a small town first, and then the small town eventually did me in and wasn't really working for me. So I moved to Denver and been able to do what I do. But
cool.
Yeah. So I guess I needed a city of some sort. But this is a good city. Like it's different from Atlanta, but I like it all for what I am right now.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
For sure.
Well, hey, Lou, man.
That's as good a time as ever to shut it down, man. I really appreciate you hanging with me so long.
No, this is a great conversation, dude. And we'll talk again September 11th. We'll do this again.
Exactly. All right, man.
Bro, have a good night. I'll talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Cheers. Yep. So, everybody knows what I feel about the world, and I think the one thing that's going to get us through is definitely looking into unity. Like white, black, break all your ideas of what your neighbors should and shouldn't be. They're still more on your level than anything that's being projected to you on TV is going to be your savior, whether it's your politicians or whether it is moguls or any of these other influencers. They are all on a whole different level of living. But the people that are around you that supposedly are the reason for all of this being the way it is, they are not at that level. And we really, really, really got to look into that, man. It's pretty astonishing how easily they can get us to fight amongst each other. So remember, it's not conspiracy theory, it's simply conspiracy. And corporations are legalized monarchies. And corporate foundations and sponsorships have had a profound effect on our conversation and Discord, and we need to just dig into it a little bit more, the history of it all. And that's the show. Please show love to our sponsors. Visit shop.flickwick.com, promo code ACTJ for 20% off. If you find an error in today's conversation, let us know, and I'll send you a free Flickwick. And we're the underdogs, man. So don't forget to visit all the affiliated show pages, subscribe, like, follow KY5 Gaming, ACTJ, the Nameless Program. Visit TMI to stay up to date on all of them. Take care and good night.